It's back on mute.
Okay, thank you زهرة. أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين.
Okay, great. Sister Yamina, you're back on.
Okay, thank you. I'll start again from the beginning. أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. So today, inshallah, since Ramadan is the month of the Quran, I wanted to talk a little bit more about how relevant and how important the Quran is to us, to our daily lives. It would be nice if everyone is unmuted, inshallah. There is still background noise. Zahra?
Yes?
You need to unmute yourself as well.
Great. Okay, I will.
Thank you. That's good now. Alhamdulillah. So, not last year, but the year before, in 2016, I had shared with you the wisdom in calling Ramadan the month of the Quran, and how fasting is related to receiving the message of the Quran, inshallah. Now I want to talk about the Quran in general. It's something that I mention repeatedly because it's so important, because we need to have when we say Quran, what comes to our mind? How do we perceive the Quran? That's very important. Accordingly, we're going to form a connection, a relationship with it, and it becomes part of our life and not a book on a shelf out there. And I talked earlier about what the book actually means. So being human beings, generally we are conscious beings. And I'm not talking about conscious in the sense of being aware, having that deep self-awareness, but conscious being as opposed to plants or to animals. And in that sense, human beings somehow, to a certain degree, it depends on the person, and to a certain extent at least, human beings know what they are doing and why they're doing it. And we tend to usually organize our activities purposefully around a goal. And this is what makes our life seem meaningful. And if we realize that this goal is not worthwhile, life somehow loses its meaning and it becomes worthless. And this causes a lot of anxiety. And there is we can't taste life. It becomes meaningless. And this is because meaning is very important for us. This is how we've been created. So if life is meaningful, then we feel that it's worth living and it gives us joy and happiness. But the thing is, can we know the meaning of life or the meaning of anything, actually, if we don't even know who we are ourselves? I mean, how can I know the meaning of things around me if I don't know my own self, since the only access I have to the world, to things out there, is through me. I see everything in the mirror of myself, through my own understanding. And so if I can't explain my own existence, how can I explain anything out there? And so in order to have a sense of who we are, we have to have a notion of how we have become, how we are becoming, where we're going. And ultimately, we're all faced with some fundamental questions like who am I? Where did I come from? Where am I going? What am I doing here? And these questions are, everyone has them. We're born with them, and that's why they've been called existential questions, in the sense that they are not abstract questions. They are not just questions we ask through mere curiosity, because we actually live these questions, even though we may not always articulate them. Lots of people may not even articulate them, but underneath their anxieties and fears lay down these questions, unanswered questions. And also, we don't ask these questions, as I said, out of mere curiosity, but out of need. It's a need in us, a need for purpose, a need for meaning, a need for answers. And so just like, and the need in the sense, I mean, just like our body needs water and food, our spirit, something in us, needs to know the answers to these questions. It needs to know that life is meaningful and therefore it is worth living. But the answers are beyond our capacity. The questions come through us. It's as a need. We are inspired with them. We don't ask them. They are being asked through us. But we don't have the answer because the answers are beyond our capacity. Because if we stop and reflect, it clearly only a knowledge that encompasses the whole world of being, the whole universe, in time and in space, can answer these questions in a satisfactory way. I mean, because I can think I'm answering the questions, but according to what? And so only the maker, only the creator of all things, Rabbul Alameen, can provide us with the answers to these fundamental existential questions. And this is what he does through the Quran. The Quran is the eternal speech of the one whose knowledge encompasses all things. And we're told in the Quran in Surah Al-Mulk, Surah 67, Ayah 14, أَلَا يَعْلَمُ مَنْ خَلَقَ وَهُوَ اللَّطِيفُ الْخَبِيرُ. Is it possible that he who has created all should not know? Indeed, he alone is unfathomable in his wisdom, all aware. In other words, this ayah is telling us that only the maker of everything can know, the maker of the cosmos, the source of being, our maker, our sustainer, our creator, can answer our existential questions. Only he can reveal to us the wisdom of creation and the meaning of life. We're also told in the Quran in Surah Al-Furqan, Surah 25, Ayah 59, الذي خلق السماوات والأرض وما بينهما في 6 أيام ثم استوى على العرش الرحمن فاسأل به خبيرا. It is He, it is God, who has created the heavens and the earth and all that is in between them in 6 aeons. And He has established, and He is established on the throne of His almightiness, the most merciful. Ask then God Himself, the one who is truly aware, the one who truly knows, the only one who knows actually, because any other knowing is a gift from Him. and who can know the true meaning and purpose of existence apart from the creator of existence, the source of existence. We can only, when we're left on our own, we can only guess, we can only speculate, as the Quran, we're told in the Quran. But speculation and conjecture is not necessarily the truth. Actually, in the Quran, it's repeatedly said, we're told it cannot and does not take the place. Conjecture cannot take the place, replace truth. In Surah 10, from ayah 35 to 37, we're told, say, does any of those beings to whom you commit shirk, to whom you ascribe as partners to God, guide onto the truth? Say, it is God alone who guides onto the truth. Which then is more worthy to be followed, he who guides onto the truth, or he who cannot find the right way unless he is guided? What then is amiss with you and your judgment? It carries on, the next ayah, 1036. For most of them follow nothing but conjecture. And behold, conjecture can never be a substitute for truth. This phrase is repeated a lot in the Quran. إِنَّ الظَّنَّ لَا يُغْنِ مِنَ الْحَقِّ شَيْئًا. Truly, God has full knowledge of all that they do. Now, this Quran could not possibly have been devised by anyone except God. Nay, indeed, it confirms the truth of whatever there still remains of earlier revelations and clearly spells out the revelation. Let there be no doubt about it, from the sustainer of all the world. Min Rabbil Alameen. It is from the sustainer of all the world. So the fact that it is from the sustainer of all the world is important, because only the sustainer of all the world can reveal the truth and guide to the truth. Anything else, anything that you may ascribe divinity, that you may ascribe as partner to God, that you may ascribe knowledge, you think that it's a source of knowledge on its own, and that thing could be ourselves. Actually, it is because we imagine ourselves to be the small, even if it's the tiny source of anything, that we project it onto the world and we see others and things as a source of something, a source of goodness, a source of protection, a source of providing whatever we value, whatever we're looking for. In this case, it's about knowing. And in Surah Al-Najm, which is Surah 53, in ayah 28 to 30, we're told, and since they have no knowledge whatever, they follow nothing but conjecture. Yet behold, never can conjecture take the place of truth. It's the same in Arabic. وَإِنَّ الظَّنَّ لَا يُغْنِ مِنَ الْحَقِّ شَيْئًا. Avoid, therefore, those who turn away from all remembrance of us here God is speaking, and care for no more than the life of this world. How can someone know the truth when he only knows and cares about the life of this world? And the life of this world, lo and behold, is transient. It's like flowing constantly. So we think we're holding something, but that thing leaves and we're not even aware of it. So clearly these people are deluded, and what they are guessing or think they know is only a conjecture. Carries on. So we told they care no more than the life of this world, which to them is the only thing worth knowing. Behold, your Rabb is fully aware as to who has strayed from his path, and fully aware is he as to who follows his guidance. Indeed, unto God, how does he know? Why is he aware? Because unto God belongs all that is in the heavens and all that is on earth. And so he will reward those, and he carries on. Subhanallah. So without his guidance, there is no way we can know, because even if we try to know, we'll be stuck and limited to what we see, which is the worldly life. But the worldly life cannot be the ultimate aim, because it is transient, because it is constantly changing. It cannot be a point of reference. And so we understand that without the help of revelation, without the help of the Quran, we can feel intuitively that there must be a creator, there must be something, since that's how we've been created. And since the order and the purpose in the creation, in the world out there, indicates the existence of a source of being, of a maker, creator. But can we find who this creator is? We can't. Who is this creator? What's the point in his creating? We can't find it on our own. Why did he bring us here? Why did he create us? We can't tell. We have no answers. We can only speculate. And especially that it's not like the world is static and we're going to study it until we find something. And not at all. The world, nothing is static. Everything is constantly changing, constantly moving, constantly growing. There is an unceasing, continuous activity in the world. And so it's beyond it's overwhelming actually because it looks like the seasons are changing, but the more you look into smaller, the micro world, you realize that it's not only it's not season changing or days changing, it's within a second, generations of particles live, many millions of generations. This is something that's changing at a very high speed, and it's overwhelming. We can't even follow what's going on, let alone understand its meaning. But at the same time, we do realize that it is meaningful, because it doesn't seem meaningless at all. It's not like everything seems to display some kind of order, harmony, and it's pleasing to the human soul. And so we're attracted to them, we can relate to them, there is a connection, we don't feel alien to what's going on around us. And especially often this activity follows beneficial purposes to us, so we are made to seek them for our benefit. So there is an intricate connection, interconnectivity between everything and between us and the rest of the world. So it's not like we can just ignore it and say, none of my business. So, and we feel that it is meaningful, it's beautiful, it's harmonious, it's orderly, but we don't know their meanings. We feel that important things are going on around us and within our lives, but we don't know what they are saying. It's like they are speaking, but we don't understand the language they speak. I mean, when someone speaks to you in another language, you realize that someone is trying to communicate with me and I'm not getting it. It's the same with the unceasing activity in the world. And only the maker of all beings, the one who makes them speak, knows their meanings, the meaning of this language they are speaking, the purpose in their creation, since he creates them. And so we need him, we need to turn to him to speak to us, because only he can tell us the purpose in our being here and the meanings of whatever is being told, being the meaning of all the creation around us. Otherwise, all creation, if we can't find the meaning of what they're telling us and the purpose of our own creation, maybe the purpose of their creation as well, that's the meaning, then everything would become meaningless. This is how we are created. We have a need for purpose and meaning. It becomes meaningless, it would have no purpose, and no one can live without a purpose. In order to live, we have to make up then a fake goal, a fake purpose, and pretend to have meaning in our life. And when there is death, we talked about the wisdom in the meaning of death last week. Death reminds us that our transient, passing goals are not truly meaningful in themselves, for themselves, and so we are shattered. People are shattered. They lose the joy of living when they remember that. So we need to know the purpose and meaning of our life, of everything around us, and only the Creator can reveal that purpose to us. And Alhamdulillah, the Maker of the universe did speak, and He spoke with words, and He is still speaking. He speaks through His creation, and He speaks through the Quran. So God speaks through ayat, through signs, through indications. Signs in the sense that a sign, like language, a word does not have a meaning in itself. It is pointing to something out there. When I say a child, the word, the sound child, is not important in itself. In another language, it would be something else. In Arabic, it would be tifl. In Turkish, it would be çocuk. It doesn't matter as long as we know what it is pointing to, what it is indicating, what it means. That's what sign means. And so everything, God speaks through signs. Everything in the creation have meanings beyond themselves. That's what sign means. Ayat. And God speaks through the ayat. This is what we're told again and again in the Quran. Through the ayat of the Quran, the units of the Quran are called ayah. And through the ayat of the creation of the world, of life, of the cosmos. And again, we are told that in the Quran, that everything, every being, every event is an ayah. And as the Imam Badi'u Zaman Sa'id Nursi rahimahullah, he says, the cosmos with all its activities is a kind of speech. It is as though the cosmos was being made to speak with constant changes and renewal. Each being, each event, each change is like a word, and their being in constant motion is a kind of speech. And this reminds me of an ayah in the Quran, when we are told in Surah Fussilat, which is Surah 41, ayah 21, we're told, أَنْطَقَنَا اللَّهُ الَّذِي أَنْطَقَ كُلَّ شَيْءٍ. They will reply, their skins, on the day of judgment, our skins will witness for us or against us, and they will reply, God who gives speech to all things has given speech to us as well. The skin will speak. The skin, in order to confirm this ayah, I need to be able to witness that my skin speaks now. It is made to speak in its own language. It is an ayah to something. And not only the skin, but everything. It's saying, God who gives speech to all things. أنطقنا الله الذي أنطق كل شيء. كل شيء. Everything. Subhanallah. So in other words, just like the Quran is God's speech with words, the cosmos, the world, the creation, is God's speech with act, the act of creating, of coming, bringing into existence. And the Quran, why is the Quran very important? Because it translates for us the cosmic signs, the ayat takwiniya, the signs, the ayat in the universe, in the world, in the creation. The Quran translates to us what they are saying. It teaches us that language of the signs of the creation that we cannot understand otherwise. And so the Quran explains to us in a way we can comprehend. So with the Quran, God speaks to us according to our understanding. In His infinite mercy, in His infinite compassion, infinite rahmah, He makes us His addressees. He's speaking. God, Rabbul Alameen, the sustainer of all world, is speaking to us in the Quran. And He is explaining to us the meaning of all the creation. He is teaching us the language of the creational signs, the cosmic signs, al-ayat al-takwiniya. And through that, He is answering our most important questions, our existential questions. So with the Quran is, God is speaking. Through the Quran, God is speaking to us. Rabbul Alameen is speaking to us. The more we realize this, the more we will value the Quran. And remember, at the beginning I said that the questions are existential, meaning that they are lived, not necessarily articulated. Not everyone may articulate the questions, but everyone lives them. Everyone experiences them. And so are the answers. The answers are also lived. And they are really answers to the extent they are lived. Actually, if we have abstract answers, if we learn abstract answers, especially, remember I always say, it's like if we never learn how to solve, let's take the example of maths because it's easy. I never learned how to solve the problems, but I have the key with me at the end of the book. Sometimes they have a key with the answers. And so I learn the answers by heart. Does it make me a mathematician? Have I learned maths? Have I learned to solve the problems just because I have the answers? No, I am just repeating the answer. I have no idea how to get there. And that's what we usually do, and that's how the education is in the Muslim world. Usually we are taught to memorize the answers. But those answers can be a start, but then definitely not the end. And in the Quran, we are not taught the answers just, we're not told to memorize them. We're actually told to reflect and understand and confirm the answers and witness their truthfulness. So if we have abstract answers that we memorized, even if we understanding them rationally is also a step. It's a good step, but it's only the beginning, a first step. It's not the end either. It may satisfy our rational faculties, but what about our heart, our feelings, our imagination, we have so many other things. And let's be truthful, how much is reason part of our life? Even when we use it, usually we use reason to understand something that's going on in our life or justify something that's going on in our life as well. So reason doesn't exist on its own. It's part of our life. And so those abstract, if we have abstract answers, in the beginning, we need to understand them, and then we need to make them reflect and realize experience them so that they become part of our lives. Otherwise, they won't be truly answers. They won't heal our fears and anxieties. They will not bring into us that gratitude and joy of knowing God and loving Him, and that anticipation of akhirah and paradise, inshallah. And that's why God does not give us the answer only in writing in the Quran. If it was so, then we will have, the Quran would be like a document. We read it, okay, God said there is akhirah, therefore there is akhirah. No, it says, go and look how He gives life to the earth after it has been dead. So I have to go and look at the seasons and see how now in spring and summer is coming, and everything was dry and suddenly everything is green and full of flowers and beautiful and live. So He's telling us something in the Quran and referring us to something that's going in the world, so I can go and experience it and witness it and live it and taste it until I can witness and confirm that yes, this is the truth. Everything was dead and dry, now everything is alive and green. This is how God creates, and then I can come back to my own life and see how I am being sustained in life every day. Only then those answers are true answers, and that's why God answers not only in words through the Quran, but also in act through His creating, through life. He creates as He speaks, and He speaks as He creates. For instance, He speaks as He offers us ni'mah, sustenance. He makes it beautiful, artful, delicious, tasty. Even the smell, the colors, the shape, everything is appealing. Something that speaks to our emotion, to our soul, not only to our reason. And He offers them to us. He offers this ni'mah, these blessings, this sustenance to us. At the same time, in the Quran, He tells us that He is the sustainer, the merciful, He is generous, He is the provider. And so with the Quran, the Creator, our Rabb, unites word and acts together. He makes the universe, the creational ayat, speak through the Quran. And that means that the meaning of the Quran unfolds in or within, through the ayat in the creation, the events in the creation, which are ayat, and the ayat in the creation disclose at the same time what they are doing. They are disclosing the meaning of the Quranic ayat, and they are being a witness to the truth of the Quran. And when we witness this process, we become witnesses to the truth of the Quran and the creation as being a speech of God, revelation from Him, revealing to us all our the answers to all our unanswered questions. So if we want to understand the meaning of our life, the purpose of our life, of our feeling, if we want to know ourselves and the things around us and the purpose of being here on earth and the purpose of death and the purpose of transience, we need to, this is Imam Nursi says, keep our eye on the world, on the universe, and an ear on the Quran at the same time. If we don't do that, it would be like if we're studying the world, the creation, without reference to the Quran on its own. It would be like watching a movie without without words, without sound. We can come up with a whole different story because we don't understand what they are saying. We're watching the movie, we're watching only the images, and then assuming things or guessing. Reading or studying the Quran on its own without referring to what it's referring to, which is the creation. The Quran is always referring to the creation. But if I read it, sit in a room and never go and actually follow what the Quran is telling me to do, and I just read it as a intellectual exercise or literary work, then it is as if I am listening to the words, but not the screen of the TV is blackened. There is no photo. So again, I will be guessing things, or since it's words, I may not be guessing, but I am just repeating things without understanding what it means, because I can't see what it's referring to. So I will just start repeating and preaching and claiming things. So this is very important. We need to observe the universe while listening to the Quran at the same time. And we need to read the ayat of creation under the guidance of the Quranic ayat, under the guidance of the Quran. So the Quran teaches us how to read the universe in the name of our Rabb who creates. We all know that the first verse, the first ayah revealed to the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ was Iqra, read. And however, the Prophet ﷺ was illiterate. He didn't know how to read and what to read. There was nothing to read. I mean, even if he knew how to read, what was he going to read? And how? What did Gabriel want him to read and how? And the answer is given to us in the next ayah. This is in Surah Al-Alaq, Surah 96. The first two ayats are Iqra, Iqra bismi rabbika alladhi khalaq. Read in the name of your Rabb, your sustainer, who has created. So we read the creation, we read our life in the name of the one who has created. It means bearing in mind that he has created. So God is not disconnected from his creation or from our life. Actually, we know him as God, as the sustainer of all worlds through his creation. Unless the disconnection only happens when we never learned to know who God is. We just took it for granted. It's a claim. I was born in a Muslim family, therefore I'm a Muslim. Muslims believe in the Quran. The Quran says God creates everything. Okay, correct, it's all correct, but so? Does it mean that if I was not born in a Muslim family, I would not believe in God, or God did not create anything? So it is correct, but it is very, very insufficient. It's only a beginning. I need to go and invest and confirm, as we are told in the Quran, the truth of how do I know he created everything? Because I look at everything and it's being created and sustained right now. So in the Quran, we are given answers to what we are going to read, everything that is created, including our lives, how we are going to read it. We are taught step by step how to read, and why we are going to read them. For what purpose? I could go and study the world because I'm a researcher. It's for my job. I want money, or I'm looking, and I am looking how to make something. That's one thing. Here, the purpose here is eternal happiness. It's beyond anything else. And when we learn this, any other activity can be read in this way. Any activity is an ayah, any activity. And we are, so through this, this is how we are provided with answers through the guidance of the Quran. So when we seek answers to our existential questions this way, we start observing the universe while listening to the guidance of the Quran, in the way we are told to observe in the Quran. And we start following the Quran is like a map of the meaning of everything happening in the world, and we start following the map. Following the map, it means I am taking the map is in my hand, but I'm going in the territory and actually using the map. I'm not just saying I have the map to the treasure. Where is the treasure? The treasure here are the beautiful divine names that gives us that joy and happiness and groundedness in this life and in the next. Hasana, it's hasana, goodness in this world and in the next, inshallah. And so the answers to our existential question, we realize then, will become existential answers. We realize that they are being revealed unto us through our very mode of being, our seeing, our feeling, our fears and anxiety, our hopes and our gratitude, and our curiosity, our needs. That's how the answers. And of course, through our needs and those feelings and emotions and whatever, our way of being is always in interaction with what's going in the world. It's not happening on its own. And that's why the Quran speaks repeatedly of the world out there, of the creation. The Quran mentions water countless times, the sky hundreds of times, the earth hundreds of times, the sea, the sun, the mountains, the trees. But the Quran does not mention these things, doesn't mention water, or rain, or trees, or the sky, the sea, in order to give us information about them. He has given us the ability to go and check and analyze and find information about them. But what we don't know how to do is what to do with that information. If you say water is H2O, H2O doesn't mean much more than water. It's just another step, another being, another level of being. But what does it mean? It was one unknown. I now named it with two unknowns. The true meaning, what it's saying, what it's pointing to, its connection to our purpose in life and our next life, is all revealed to us through the Quran, and that's why it mentions them. It's in the Quran we are taught the purpose in the creation of all these things, in the creation, in their being there, in their existence. It's actually the Quran tells us what these things, what these beings, which we call water, tree, or earth, or whatever, actually are. It tells us what they are actually, because those are names, but what are they truly? Like, we have names, and we can say, okay, we are human beings, but what is a human being? So it tells us what they are and what they are doing and what they are telling us about life about ourselves, about akhirah, about our Rabb, our sustainer. And we need our sustainer, because without him, there is no life, no meaning, nothing. Everything, if God ceases to sustain anything, there is nothing even to talk about. We won't even be here to discuss anything. So it's very important to know who our Rabb is, and to be at peace that our Rabb is there. He is eternal. He has the power to will anything, the power of be and it is. His compassion encompasses everything. He is generous. He's the provider. This is like air and water and food for the human soul. And this is what the Quran teaches us to see and observe and witness and hear in everything around us. Everything around us is glorifying God. Everything around us is remembering God. Everything around us is making tasbih, glorifying God with his beautiful names, displaying his beautiful name. They are all like mirrors reflecting the beautiful names of God. That gives us, that relieves us, that gives us that peace, that inner peace here and in Akhirah, inshallah. So the Quran reads the cosmos, it reads our lives, it reads us, and it translates that for us. It teaches us how to read, how to understand that speech. And what the Quran reads, its subject is not alien to us. It's not distance from us. What the Quran reads is what we live. We live the 4 seasons. We live the rain, the water we drink, the food we eat. We live birth and we live death every day. And this is what the Quran talks about and what it's teaching us. And as far as we are concerned, what the Quran reads is what we are living here and now. And so from the point of view of the Creator, he speaks as he creates, and he explains the aim in his creation, and also he demonstrates what he says through his action. He tells us, I am your Rabb and I am generous, and he shows us his generosity in the world so we can so our heart can be satisfied, so we can be at ease. In Surah Fussilat, which is Surah 41, in Ayah 53, we're told سنريهم آياتنا في الآفاق وفي أنفسهم حتى يتبين لهم أنه الحق. We shall make them see our signs, our ayat, through what they perceive in the horizons of the universe and within themselves, so that it will become clear unto them that this is indeed the truth. Subhanallah, this is, we are told this in the Quran. It is through, we are shown, God shows us his signs in the universe and within ourselves until it becomes clear unto us that it is the truth. The Quran is the truth, is telling us the truth of what's going on, because everything falls into place, everything makes sense. There is no contradiction. And not only our hearts, our emotion, everything starts quieting down, starts surrendering, start finding their peace, because they find there the true meaning of life that looks to Akhirah, that looks to God. And without the guidance of the Quran, without being told the meaning of what is being recited around us, we can only speculate, and the result is only superficial knowledge. We think it's knowledge, but it's not true knowledge. In Surah Al-Rum, which is Surah 30, from ayah 7 to 9, we're told, ayah 7 is a nice ayah, I always love it, can learn it by heart. يعلمون ظاهرا من الحياة الدنيا وهم عن الآخرة هم غافلون. They know only the outer surface of this worldly life, whereas of the ultimate things they are utterly unaware. Of the akhirah, they are utterly unaware. Can you imagine if someone is unaware of akhirah, what good does knowing anything about this world, what good is it going to bring us? Because the truth is that this worldly life is transient. It ends. And even if we think, yes, it changes, but still here, we go. Our life ends. So without akhirah, everything is useless and meaningless. It's like however you add up, you have between parentheses, you put big numbers, but at the end it's multiplied by 0. The result is always 0. Without akhirah, death means multiplied by 0. If there is nothing after death, then there is a huge vacuum, a huge hole. And that hole is something that we cannot face. That's why if we don't have certainty of akhirah, then we'll have to keep avoiding the truth, keep running away. And that's why we say, like, we know everything is transient. Why do I keep forgetting it? It's because something deep down in us is scared so much that it doesn't want to remember it. Why? Because we don't have certainty of akhirah. So we, in our mindlessness, we imagine, even if we don't say it explicitly, we imagine that death is the end of everything. And so we just run away from the truth that everything is doomed to death, instead of enjoying it. But when we have certainty of akhirah, that's why al-muttaqin, the God conscious, one of their first characteristics in Surah Al-Baqarah was that they have certainty. It's not only they believe, more than that. They have absolutely no doubt. They are seeing it. Everything here and now is reminding them of akhirah. And so with that certainty of akhirah, death becomes something we taste, something enjoyable. Because the other side of death is that everything is coming into existence newly. So it's pointing to that source of everything, that source of goodness of everything we long for. Subhanallah. So it becomes pleasant, something we look forward to. And so back to Surah Rum, Surah 30, ayah 7 to 9.
Sorry, Sister Yamina?
Yes.
What was the ayah that was that we just covered about the outward things?
Yeah, it's Surah Al-Rum, Surah 30, and that was ayah 7, but I want to also share ayah 8 and 9, inshallah.
And so just a quick question about that. So when it comes to confirming the akhirah of things, is it enough to, because I guess like the tradition often makes akhirah out to be this eternal life somewhere at some point, which is hard to really connect to now. But can we say that confirming akhirah is confirming that the thing itself is a sign that points to its maker, who has to be infinite, and then in seeing that and witnessing that and being sure of the infinite maker that's beyond, then your heart finds comfort in that, and that's akhirah?
Yeah, what you said first about the tradition, that's correct too. The second part that you shared is how to come to that conclusion. Because the first part, it's not that it's incorrect, it's because it's just imposed somehow over us. We never were trained to come to that conclusion, so we cannot relate to it. However, as you said, if we learn to confirm how everything is pointing, is mirroring akhirah here and now, mirroring the beautiful divine names that are infinite and eternal and point to akhirah here and now, and the flow of transientness itself is an ayah to eternity, because things individually are transient, but the flow carries on. So it's pointing to things are flowing from an eternal source. And so when we learn how to have that certainty and confirm and witness that akhirah here and now, then when we are told there is a realm of akhirah that is eternal, we say yes, of course, sure. It's not disconnected anymore. It becomes part of our reality here and now, inshallah. So what you said, both are correct. The first one is, in the beginning it's only a claim, and often it remains a claim. However, in the Quran we are told, as you shared in the second part, how to confirm that claim. So it's not a claim anymore, it's our reality. It's our life, it's our experience. It's something that we have certainty about because we experience it here and now every day. And life becomes really, really beautiful and joyful here and now before akhirah. And so that's why those who do not experience that, they will be resurrected blind, we are told. And they will say, well, how are we blind? We could see in life. Say, no, you could not see in life either. They could not see the reality of things. But those who could see, who did see or do see the reality of things, they will recognize everything over there. Oh, this is what we were seeing on earth. This is what we were promised. Because the promise is not only the ayah in the Quran, it is, but it's also the promise in the ayat in the creation. When we see the indication, we get a glimpse of it, and we're now waiting for the real thing. And when we get there, when we see the real thing, say, oh, this is what it was pointing to. We'll recognize it. We'll recognize the rahmah, the beauty, the compassion, the generosity, inshallah. Does it make sense? Shall we carry on?
Yes, Jazakallah khair, yeah. I think there's also a question from Anne in the chat.
Yes.
She's saying, and this was quite a bit ago, but she's saying in the Quran it says, we are created to worship Allah. Mm-hmm. Since everything in nature is worshiping Him all the time, is that not our purpose?
Yes, it is our purpose. That's in the Quran we are told this is your purpose. We created you only to worship, to know and worship God. And so it's the start. This is now our start. And then if we go and look in the Quran, it will teach us why and how we are truly, because we are always worshipping. Actually, we are created as worshippers. Either we worship God or we worship false gods. And in one of our teleconferences, we used to have monthly teleconferences on some main topics in the themes in the Quran. And in one of them, I talk about the worshipping God is the purpose of our life. And that purpose, the purpose of our life, we don't know it in the beginning. That is why we need the Quran. Okay, so someone can tell us what I want to share today is something relevant to our existential questions, something that all our fears and anxieties are because we don't have answers to our existential questions. The quality of our life here and now before akhirah changes. And so I can say, and it is correct, that yes, the purpose of life is to worship God. How did you get there? How do I witness this reality? How do I observe it and experience it? And so I say, yes, it is the truth. This is my purpose. Actually, it's not only it's my purpose. Now I have to decide to worship God. I'm already created as a worshiper of God. And I can misuse that and worship other things than God and worship myself or other things, or worship God. So I'm trying to say that what is taught in the Quran is also part of our reality. So once we start interacting with the Quran in that way, then it is easier to first follow the guidance of the Quran, second to witness it and confirm it. Otherwise it remains as claims. It becomes taqleed, imitating without understanding. And when we imitate without, or we can understand it intellectually, but we don't experience it, we don't feel it, so it remains still alien to us, far distant from us. And that's not because it is distant and alien, it's because we do not have the right approach. We do not have the right attitude. So inshallah, we want to have that attitude as we are told in the Quran, that when we read the Quran, we realize that it is telling us something that I'm experiencing in my life. And it's telling me the true meaning of what I'm experiencing. It's revealing unto me the meanings and purposes of everything. And of course, all these meanings and purposes, ultimately, it's about knowing God. Worshipping God means, this is how everyone agrees that we cannot worship God without knowing Him. So the more we know Him, the more we love Him. And the word worship, whether in English or in Arabic, is all about adoring. Adoration is a form of worship. It is worship. And so it is in Arabic. So it is about adoring God. And why would we adore Him? Because the more we know Him, the more we realize that He is the source of all what we are made through our creation to adore. Subhanallah. So everything becomes easy. That's why we say, سَنُيَسِّرُهُ لِلْيُسْرَى. We will ease Him onto ease. We are eased onto the path of ease, because we will find out that everything falls into place. Everything, we are already created with all this. The way we created already makes it easy for us to not only understand but confirm the truth of what we are told in the Quran. And so the Quran becomes a living thing, a living guidance. Right here and now, it fulfills our most important needs. And it makes the whole world around us live and meaningful. It makes everything, it reveals the meanings of everything. And everything around us speaks the language of the beautiful divine names, al-Asma al-Husna. Subhanallah. So I'm going back to Surah Al-Rum, which is Surah 30. And I said, if we can unmute, inshallah. Thank you. So ayah 7 was, they know only the outer surface of this world's life, whereas of akhirah, they are utterly unaware. And the next ayah is, have they not reflected about their own selves? God has not created the heavens and the earth and all that is between them without truth and purpose, an appointed time. And yet many stubbornly deny the truth that they are destined to meet the Sustainer. Have they then never journeyed about the earth and beheld what happened in the end to those who lived before their time. They were greater in power than they are, and they left a stronger impact on the earth, and they built it even better than these. So you see how we are told, have they not reflected about their own selves? وَلَمْ يَتَفَكَّرُوا فِي أَنفُسِهِمْ مَا خَلَقَ. So we are asked to reflect upon ourselves. And right afterwards it says, look, God has created the heavens, the earth, and everything that is between them, and everything is created with truth and purpose. Can't you see? And an appointed time. An appointed time means everything has a limit. Everything dies. Everything comes into being and leaves. Everything is transient. Because if things were not transient, we could be mistaken and think that those truth and purposes belong to the things themselves. But they don't. It's like if I see a flower, a beautiful flower, and I'm so like, oh, how beautiful and everything, and I forget. If I have not learned to read it as a sign, as an ayah to its creator, then, and because look at the flower, its shape, its color, its smell, it is interacting with me, with my sight, with my ruh, with my spirit, gives me joy suddenly. It makes me feel good. How can the flower know that and have that effect on me? When I am aware and conscious that is an ayah, I interact with it as an ayah and I start reading the signs. And so I say, oh, how beautifully it is made. And my creator is like the one who creates beautifully, the one who gives me joy with something, with a small little thing. And so it becomes an ayah. It speaks to me of paradise, of God, of the good news that the source of loveliness, the source of beauty, the source of pleasure and happiness do not belong to that transient mortal flower, but it is only a gate. It's only a vehicle of something coming from beyond. The source is not there. It's not the flower. Something is coming from beyond. And when the flower dies, it is when I become sure. If I have had some doubt, I become sure. If I am a ghafil, a mindless person who thought that the flower itself is beautiful, I am pained because now I'm in turmoil. There is what's going on. I thought this was the source of this loveliness and this happiness, and now it's gone. And it reminds me that everything will go. Everything that I'm relying on is unreliable. And so it is an opportunity for those who are humble and are not arrogant to say, what's going on? What's the meaning of all this? And then to feel the need for divine guidance. Divine guidance, the Quran is a food for the soul. It answers our most important needs. It's not just we are Muslims, it's our sacred scriptures. Yes, true, but what does that mean? What does that mean when it comes to me, my life, my needs? And that's why in this ayah, when it says God created the heavens and the earth and all that is between them with truth and purpose and an appointed time, and this is repeated in the Quran because the truth and purpose have become clearly a sign indicating the unseen, indicating the beautiful divine names, because everything has an appointed time. The moment the flower wilts and dies, it becomes clear that it is not the source of the loveliness and the beauty that we can see displayed on it.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
So, assalamu alaikum, Dr. Yamina. This is Rebecca.
Yeah.
I was wanting to relate something you have you said very early on to something I've been learning about. You have been, you said that it's our spirit that is, that's the part of us that needs meaning.
Yeah.
And so if you meant ruh by that.
Oh, yeah.
Specific.
I mean,
you did mean that?
Yes. And if it's the ruh that needs it, it means the heart also needs it, because the heart is like the window onto the ruh. And we need it on a daily basis. It's like our basic food, our bread, daily bread. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So
would say that because I've been learning about that the rule is we're sometimes we're often very disconnected from it, and it's like we're completely, especially the ego is getting in front of it, and we're blocked from it. But could you say that as we become more connected with our own spirit, and the spirit especially that has heard the speech of God before this life, then the more we are, able to look at the signs of creation and understand their meaning and their eternal wisdom.
Yeah, it's true. Now, I will say, usually, it's a matter of mindfulness and being more and more conscious. The more, in the beginning, we live from the ego, which in the Quran is called the nafs al-ammara. Like we identify with our false ego. It's a false thing because we have a perception of ourselves that does not fit the reality. But we are unaware of the reality. Actually, we are so unaware that we conflate our perception with reality. It's like what I perceive is what is, which is not always true. Sometimes I may misunderstand things, misinterpret things. And the more we become conscious, the more we are humble enough to seek answers and not to claim that I can find it myself. Or some people do not even seek answers because they are totally not satisfied, but like not brave enough to look for the answers. Instead, when we don't have the answers, we have that underlying fears and anxiety, and we just try to cover it up with other things, run away from the reality. And we become like either through working a lot, workaholic, or some people go shop, some people go do something, but we don't face reality. But I'm not going to talk about that group of people. They are outside our scope. Where I'm talking about those who are seeking answers. They are seeking some solution. In order to do that, we need to be humble. The more we humble ourselves, the more we surrender to the reality that we cannot find the answers ourselves, that we need help. That's what we say in the Fatiha. We seek your help. The more our consciousness will start increasing, because we'll realize how much we don't know. And how much what we think we know is only a claim, and how much there are things that are beyond even our awareness. And so the more we start realizing our reality, that we have no control over anything, not even my own breathing. My life is not my own. The more we become more humble, we surrender even more. Our consciousness increases, consciousness of who we are, and therefore of who our Rabb is, because he's the one who is sustaining my breathing here and now. So in the mirror of my ubudiyah, of my being a totally dependent being, I start, that mirror start reflecting Rububiyyah. And so my awe of Rububiyyah increases, my gratitude increases. I start knowing God with his beautiful names. And so I start living from the heart more. I start feeling the beautiful names and my needs, through my needs, that my needs are being taken care of. And then I start living more and more from the ruh, from the spirit. And so the more I live from the spirit, the easier it becomes to stay there, that everything is a sign. But in order to get there, someone has to teach me. The Quran, I have to be told that everything is a sign, is an ayah. And I have to be taught how to read the signs, how to follow their guidance, how to understand their speech, how to understand their glorifications of God, their tasbihat, how they are manifesting, displaying, and telling me about the divine names and about my Rabb and about Akhirah. How to see Wajhullah, I'm using the terminology of the Quran, to see Wajhullah, the countenance of God in everything. Wherever we turn, wherever you turn, there is Wajhullah, we are told in the Quran. And so once we get there, it becomes easier to stay in there, and it becomes easy to remember God through his creation. It's like the beads of the tasbih, of the how it's called, the tasbih in English, the rosary. Instead of the beads of the rosary, the whole creation, the events in our life becomes like those beads that we glorify together with the whole creation. And so life won't be an obstacle to remembering God. Life won't stop us. It will be just the other way around. Everything in life, everything around us in the world will become the how do you say, the what makes us remember God. And that's extremely important. When we are at the ego level, the world is an obstacle to remember God. And at the ego level, we forget that everything is transient because it's scary. When we live from the heart and from the spirit or the soul, from the ruh, then remembering that everything is transient will become, actually gives us joy, because it is the mirror. It is the mirror to the beautiful divine names, to eternity. And so we won't forget it, because it's a selective forgetting. And so we will remember it. We will see it's not remembering, it's the reality. We will see the reality. We won't forget the reality. And it would become easier and easier to remember God and to live in his presence. That's the state of ihsan. The Prophet ﷺ said, it is to live in the presence of God. It is to know, to live with that awareness that everywhere reminds me of God. That's the state of ihsan. And so it becomes easy now there to confirm the truthfulness of the Quran, the Quranic ayat. And that's why I keep saying it is not enough to understand. When I say it's not enough, it doesn't mean we should not understand. It means that understanding is the first step. Just claiming, repeating what is taught to us is unacceptable in the Quran, in the Muslim tradition. Taqleed, imitating, you cannot imitate in belief. Belief is something that I am convinced of. I cannot follow the conviction of someone else. So that's why it's not acceptable, because it's not possible. So Iman is to have that certainty, that knowing that the Quran is telling the truth because I experienced it. I live it every day. And that's why it's so beyond understand. So we start understanding and then we start experiencing and living those realities. And only then we can witness. And that's why the witnessing is so important. It's the first pillar of Islam. And we witness that there is nothing worth worshipping, nothing worth seeking help from, nothing worth giving importance to except God. This is a big claim. And we are witnessing means I observed it, I lived it, I experienced it, I know firsthand. I'm not just repeating it's not just the formula that I say without meaning it. If I don't mean it, then I would be lying. Astaghfirullah. And I want to give one example of, for instance, in the Quran we are told, and God has created you, and in time will cause you to die, and many a one of you is reduced in old age to a most abject state, ceasing to know anything of what he once knew so well. Truly, God is all-knowing, infinite in his power. So it says, so this ayah is a guidance. This ayah of the Quran, can I just go and repeat it and learn it by heart and repeat it to everyone? I can, but I can only witness it and confirm, say Sadaqallahu al-Azim. I do confirm that what God is saying to me here is the truth by actually going around and looking around me. And when I look around me, yes, I am being created right now. I can collapse anytime. I have no say on my life, on my breathing, on anything. And in time, he will cause you to die. Yes, everyone dies around me. And I was a baby one day, and I don't know where it is now. It died. It's not in this world. That's what it means. It died. I was a toddler. I was a kid one day, and they're not here. So I can confirm this first around me, and then I come back to my life. Yes, this is happening to me too right now. My yesterday is not here. My last year is not here. My 10 years ago is not here. And so this old age is not only necessarily when I get very old, but right now I can get it. I can relate to it even when I am younger. And then ceasing to know anything. Some people get so old that they get dementia, they don't know what they're doing, they forget. Some people could be very learned and they don't remember anything, they don't know anything. So this is a sign, like with the flower. I said, even if we had any doubt, when the flower dies and wilts, it is clear that it is not the source of the loveliness and the beauty that we witnessed on it. It was only a mirror. And here as well, the person could be very knowledgeable and they get old and forget everything. And they don't even know what they are saying. Like in not only Alzheimer, but dementia in general. And so this is a sign that God is knowing. The creator of that person is knowing. That knowledge is not his. It was given. Since it cannot, if it's can be taken from us, it means it is given to us. It means it's not ours. And can I relate to myself here and now? Sure. Sometimes I forget. We all forget things. And when we forget, we try very hard to remember. If it was mine, why do I forget it? Why do I try to remember? And it comes in its time. Sometimes when you need something, you don't remember it. At the end of the day, when everything is over, you say, oh, that was it. Very clearly that it is not under our control. Remembering is not under our control. We think that knowing is under our control, but it's only we are given the need, the curiosity to know, and we learn. And some things you'll read, you try to understand, you can't understand. It is a gift. Knowledge is also given to us. And one clear sign is when it's taken away. When it's taken away, clearly, it is not from us. We are not the source. We are only a mirror. We're only a channel. And so that's why the ayah ends with Inna Allah, Inna is indeed, truly, God is Al-Alim. God is all-knowing. Is there any, if I am not the source of knowledge, nothing created can be the source of knowledge. Knowledge is coming from somewhere. My knowing and forgetting are both together an ayah to beyond, that the source of knowing is beyond us, to the unseen. Whoever is creating me right now this way and sustaining my existence, he is the knowing one, the giver of knowing. And he gives and he takes. For reasons, wisdoms that are mostly beyond my capacity. But there is a reason, there is a purpose in his giving knowledge. For instance, I get to understand that I am not the knowing, he is knowing. And in all doing all this, there is also a sign, an ayah to power. He has control over everything. He has control over our life, over our death, over our knowing and our forgetting. Subhanallah, truly, you can say at the end, God is all-knowing, infinite in his power. But if I read this ayah and just repeat it, I am not reading it, because the ayah is referring to something that is lived. Unless I go and live and observe, and as it said before, don't you reflect on your own selves. I go and reflect on my own self, and I get back and I say, yes, this ayah is telling the truth, and it's showing me how my life, my death, not only one day when I leave the world, but my death every day. I go to sleep and I wake up, it's a new day. And it seems like I'm the same person, the same body, but you look at your old pictures and you can't recognize yourself. Barely. So it is a new creation. And the more we reflect that way, under the guidance of this ayah, for instance, you realize that yes, knowledge is given to me and it can be taken anytime. And I know that because from time to time I forget, so I don't have to have dementia. When I have dementia, it will be too late anyway. I won't be able to reflect. I won't be responsible then. So I say, yes, God is all-knowing. He's all-powerful. And that is good news. That is good news. Because I feel relieved. I feel grounded. I feel grateful. Because I know deep down that I am so weak, so dependent. I cannot do anything on my own. I have only needs, and I have no way to meet those needs. And now I learn that, yes, I have no way to meet those needs, but they are being met now. And the one who is meeting them now, who is sustaining my life now, he is all-knowing, all-powerful. In other ayahs, he's all-merciful, all-generous, all good news. It means we're good. It's okay if things are transient, because their source is eternal. Because my Rabb, the one who sustains me, he knows everything. He has the best. He loves us. He's closer to us than our own jugular vein. All the wishes of goodness that we have for ourselves, the desires that we have for unending peace and happiness, are all given to us. That's how we are created. I wouldn't even know I needed that. And if he gave me, he made me aware of the need, that in itself is an ayah, a sign, a warranty that he is the one who is fulfilling the need here, now, and forever. So it's really good news. Alhamdulillah. I can only bow in awe and gratitude to my Rabb. Alhamdulillah. That is what the Quran is. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم وآخر دعواهم أن الحمد لله رب العالمين اللهم أرنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه وأرنا الباطل باطلا وارزقنا اجتنابه آمين والحمد لله رب العالمين. Thank you.
Jazakallah khair, Sister Yamina, and thank you everyone for joining us. Apologies again for the delay in the beginning. And inshallah, I hope you join us next Sunday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Inshallah.
Jazakallah khair.
Inshallah. Thank you, Zahra. Thank you, everyone. Assalamu alaikum. Ramadan Mubarak. May its barakah fill our life, inshallah. Okay, assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.